is a town, there's a village that is being threatened. What are we gonna do? Blah, blah, blah. Can someone check on Suzanne Collins? Is she okay? What if he gets rejected by him? That trauma will last forever. Bitch, he might die. Okay, where are we going? What? Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Shoshana here to talk about some friggin' books that I read recently. And I think there's a couple of DNFs here. There usually is. Everyone, meet Ghost. Ghosty. Oh yeah? What's up, baby? This is our new baby. Okay, where are we going? What? Why are you in distress? She actually likes to be picked up. I pick her up all the time. What? Is this just weird? Okay. Oh my god, alright, go. Oh, Jesus. Now she's chasing Kuzma. And I believe these are all... Oh no, this one... Oh yeah, this is the Straggler that I finished, I think, later in the day, the last time I recorded my recent wrap-up. So this is the last one from March. And that is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I'm sure you probably know what this book is. It is a Hunger Games novel. It is a prequel. It is Haymitch's story of his time when he won the Hunger Games. And the TLDR on this is I was emotional. Oh my God. Can someone check on Suzanne Collins? Is she okay? I don't think she is. I definitely enjoyed this more than Songbirds of Ballad, whatever the fuck, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That is simply because I liked the idea of that, and I liked seeing like the games changing and becoming what they became later in Haymitch's time and in Katniss's time, because that one is set way earlier on, like 10 years, I think, into it. And I liked all of that, and the writing was good or whatever. But why did we need to follow Snow? I don't think we needed Snow to be the main POV. I don't need to be in his POV. I think he wasn't that compelling as a main character. I think following Sejanus as the main character and having him be the love interest in question would have been way more compelling, but that's neither here nor there. This one, I will say, I did feel sometimes like the fan service vibes were a bit like obvious and in your face, but also I didn't really care because I am a huge fan of the Hunger Games, so, you know. My biggest qualm I had with the actual like plot or writing of this one was the very end. We had the poem excerpts like interwoven throughout that entire ending, and it was a little bit overkill for my taste. It just felt very redundant and unnecessary. I don't think that it added to it. I mean, I stopped reading them, the poem excerpts. I was just like, okay, more poetry. I don't really feel like I understand what it was meant to add to the story. And for me personally, it didn't add really anything. Maybe like one or two interjections of like this poem that relates to this, fine, but just like over and over and over again, like breaking up the narrative of the story to be like more poetry. It didn't work for me. But my God, this was just so brutal. I mean, it's the Hunger Games, of course it's brutal, duh. And tragic, so tragic. I don't know, I mean, that's the thing too. If you've read the Hunger Games or seen the movies, like, you know generally what's going to happen. And like from the original trilogy, you heard a little bit about Haymitch's time in the games, and like, you know that Haymitch's family is no longer around and all of this, but you don't know the inner details of it all. And with the context of the original trilogy, there were so many lines that were just made me so upset. And like references, like the Easter eggs, the references to things, talking about the Bairds, the Covey folk, which is, you know, referencing to Lucy Gray. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who isn't reading it. But yeah, there's just a lot of things. I'm trying to find like a quote that isn't spoilery. Calling the one girl sweetheart. stop. Oh my god. The Mockingjay pin reference over and over again. I can't. Oh, also, I will just say without spoiling anything that I initially, Maisie, you're like, okay, she kind of sucks. Fucking love Maisie. Oh my god, I love her so much. She is so sassy and bitchy, but in this, it's like she's directing it at the right people. She's directing it at the Capitol and the people from the Capitol. And I just love her. Steal a spine on that one. Him talking about, like, not wanting to make trouble, etc., etc. Ugh, another cameo. All the cameos. His mentor. His mentors. Yeah, just in general, all of the comments about, like, him wanting to fight the system but not being able to. And then the ending, so emotional. I got, like, I knew it was coming, but then I didn't. You know, I did, but it still was just so tragic. And then the epilogue, talking about seeing Katniss when she's a little girl and everything. And the geese, PETA with the geese. Yeah, the ending was fucking just tragic. My heart. I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. Really, really great. I almost didn't buy it because I was just like, oh, I'll check it out from the library. And then Ray messaged me asking from Bookmark Chronicles and was like, have you read it? And I was like, I haven't yet. I'm debating like buying it. And she was like, it's worth a purchase. So I was like, all right, fuck it. And she was right. My God. Then I read a NetGalley e-arc that I had called Awake in the Floating City by Susanna Kwan. This one came out or is coming out. May 13th is when it is coming out. And this is dystopian. It is a future version of our very own Earth, but with lots of climate change activity. And San Francisco is where we are with our main character, and it is underwater. The coasts are disappearing. So yeah, it's like, I think I remember, if I remember correctly, up to like the 3rd or 4th floor of like this apartment building she lives in is like all water. So it's a different world. There's like, you know, farmers market on the rooftops and like bridges between roofs for people to like get places, and like occasionally like boats and stuff. And our main character, cannot remember her name, Bo. She used to be like a home aide for elderly folks, you know, like a hospice care worker. She's kind of just floating around mentally and emotionally, not really doing anything. Her family has left. Her cousin and her uncle have left. They're elsewhere. They want her to come be with them, but she's just kind of moping around aimlessly because her mother disappeared in a flood, like a flash flood, and then her mom's gone, but she is just holding out hope that she'll find her mother. And it's like pretty dang obvious that she's gone. And then a lady in her apartment building is like, I need help. Can you come work for me for a few days a week? I'm old and I need assistance. So that's the premise. The TLDR here is there is definitely an audience for this book who will love it, but I am not that audience. This was very slow paced. And for me, the thematic elements, what we're talking about in the book, it felt a little repetitive and very, very slow paced. And for me, also, the main character was incredibly frustrating. Oh my God, so frustrating. And it just ended up being a bit of a slog for me personally. So yeah, I will not reread this. The writing was solid enough overall, I felt. There were some really lovely lines talking about humanity and grief. That's a big thing here. Processing things, processing our emotions, processing grief and change. The writing style did read a little bit kind of that like airy, disconnected, maybe even a little pretentious like literary fiction vibes that I don't love. Just not to my taste, really. And yeah, again, Bo, the main character, drove me crazy. For most of the book, she doesn't really have any agency in her own life. Like, she's one of those characters where like things are just happening to her and around her, and she's just like letting things happen. And there's like, it's in the very beginning, so whatever. Her cousin coming to get her, planning this whole thing. It's like there's all this paperwork and planning to get a boat to come down to San Francisco to try to pick her up. And she bails last minute. Like, he's like, I'm here, messaging her. And she's like, I'm not coming. Sorry, I have to take care of this old lady. And he's like, the fuck are you talking about? And she's just like, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, bye. And that's that. And oh my God, pissed me the fuck off. And then something later on with a birthday party, I will just say without spoiling anything, pissed me right off. And then something else with her cousin, even later, again. I kind of started to hate her a little bit towards the end. Like, I'm not gonna lie, she was wildly frustrating for me. She just felt like stupid and just like, what are you even doing? What are you fucking doing? And so for me in general, the plot was just a little bit meandering and lacking. I can see what the author was going for, and I can see why there are a lot of people rating this 4 or 5 stars. There's an audience for it for sure, but like I said, I am just not that audience. And I should have known, but it sounded intriguing. I wanted to check it out. I ended up giving this one 2.5 stars. Again, don't let that necessarily be a deterrent. There's a bunch of people giving this high ratings. Just not for me. Then we have a DNF, The Beginning Place by Ursula K. Le Guin. This was one I bought a while ago, I think at Changing Hands. It was used. And I've only read 2 or 3 Ursula K. Le Guins before. The Left Hand of Darkness I've read twice, maybe 3 times. I think twice. Love it. Like, love it, love it. It's not, like, it's weird to me that I like it. It doesn't, on paper, it's not something I would think that I would like, but I love it. And then I also read The Word for World is Forest years ago. Both of those are in the Hainish cycle, which is kind of a series that Ursula K. Le Guin has, but not really. They're all kind of companion novels and novellas. There's really not any particular order you need to read them in. But I loved that book as well. And it's another one that sci-fi, you know, out in these other planets and very like introspective and like deep and profound and like kind of weird and slower paced, like a quieter story, I guess. But I loved both of them. I thought that this was in the Hainish cycle. 'Tis not. It's not at all. Yeah, and I got, how far into this did I get? Yeah, 57%. And this one is a young adult, kind of contemporary fantasy, and kind of a romance, I guess. A lot of people talk about it as a romance. And yeah, we have a main character named Hugh who finds his way to the beginning place. It's like this place in the forest that is like magical and protected, where time doesn't really exist, I guess. And within this magical forest, there is a town, there's a village that is being threatened. What are we gonna do? And yeah, this one was just a miss for me. I loved the description of the beginning place. It was very magical and ethereal and peaceful and lovely. But I was not vibing with these characters. There's a female main character too that finds the place. And yeah, I just wasn't vibing with them or their stories, their real world experiences. And like, I just found it all to be very meandering and like opaque feeling. The dialogue was random and just didn't make sense. It felt like it was trying to be like deeply profound. I just didn't find it to be deep and profound. So I gave up. I did not care any longer. And then another DNF. This I picked up from the library, do not have it any longer. And this one I stopped at 7%. The premise with this one, let me read the shit. Contemporary fiction, but with a little sprinkling of historical fiction. 2 women separated by decades and continents and united by a mysterious family heirloom reclaim family secrets and lost loves. in this sweeping novel from blah, blah, blah. So we're in 2022 where there's a single mother, Mallory, and her son, he's 10, he is at summer camp, and he has acute poisoning from a toxic death cap mushroom, leaving him fighting for his life, and now they're searching for a kidney for him. And her mother was adopted, an infamous Irish orphanage, and then her own all-consuming summer romance 14 years earlier with her childhood best friend, who's now one of the world's most beloved singer-songwriters. A fairy tale cut short by an agonizing betrayal. And then the historical fiction part is Cairo, 1951. There's a character, Hannah, who suffered tragedy beyond comprehension in the war. Blah, blah, blah. Fateful encounter with an enigmatic manager of a hotel. Bristling with spies, leads to a passionate affair. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. I was like, yeah, sure. Count me in. I was messaging Ingrid in the beginning of this because when the mom goes to the hospital, her son is like 4 hours away. Like the hospital's like 4 hours away or something. So she's just like frantic, panicking. Obviously, she's been told your son is potentially dying and got airlifted to the emergency room. And so she gets there and she's like freaking out, of course. And she runs in and the receptionist person or nurse or whoever was at the front desk is being very like standoffish toward her. And she's like freaking out. She's like, I need to know if my son is alive or dead. And they're like, ma'am, you need to calm down. And like just all this sass and attitude. And then within like a minute or two of this interaction of her being like, I don't give a shit about your paperwork. I need to know if my fucking kid is okay. They're like, we're gonna get security in here. And they call security on her and they like escort her to this like other area. She calls her sister to come and then her sister sweeps in and is like the rational one. And I was asking Ingrid, I'm like, is that realistic? Like, cause Ingrid has worked in emergency rooms before. She's a nurse. She is currently a nurse. And she was like, I mean, I don't think it's not very realistic that they would call security if she isn't like physically assaulting anyone or like throwing anything. Like that's a little bit much. And then the doctor, when the doctor comes in, again, this woman still has been told almost nothing about what is happening with her son. And so she's still like freaking out. But again, she's not like throwing things. She's just being a very agitated, frustrated, panicky mother. And the doctor is very, again, like rude and starts like using all this jargon. And she's like, what the hell does that mean? And like her sister's like, oh, can you explain, doctor? And the doctor's like glaring at her and all this shit. And then she like swears at one point. Cause yeah, she was like, they were like, oh, it's a toxic death cap mushroom. And she was like, oh my God, what? And the doctor was like, oh, I thought someone told you. And she was like, they didn't tell me it was a fucking death cap mushroom. And her sister like apologizes and is like, I'm so sorry, doctor. She can get like this. And the doctor's like, it's fine. And is all like rude. And I was just like, I don't believe that an emergency room doctor would be that scandalized and like offended. You're so rude in this situation with a frantic mother who hasn't even seen her son yet, who might be dying. He's in a coma and she says the F word and you're like, how dare you? Like, I don't buy it. I don't think so. And again, Ingrid was like, yeah, it's not very realistic. Like, sure, maybe someone, but they've seen and heard so much worse than that. And especially in that context with like this situation, she has every reason to be upset and like frantic and panicky. And then the first scene with the Cairo POV, I was also annoyed with because it just, okay, our main character there is like on a balcony and her husband is like talking with people and she's like bored or something. And so she goes to like sit in a different area of the balcony. And as she sits down, there's a fucking cobra like in her face. And I'm not joking. We spend like at least 2, but I think it was 3 pages being like, oh, if I knew I was going to die right now, I would have done this differently this morning. If only this morning I had known I was going to die, I would have kissed my husband longer, or I would have done this, and I would have really enjoyed my coffee more. If I knew I was going to die, I would have, like this, oh my God. And the last time I spoke with 3 pages of this. Holy shit. Shut up. Oh my God, I was so annoyed. But then the reason I DNF'd is because we jump forward 3 years later. Her son has to have dialysis 3 times a week. They've checked everyone in the family that they can to see if they're a match for him. No one is. And her sister is like, you gotta reach out to the baby daddy. And her sister knows who it is. And so the main character is like, oh, yeah, like I can just like email this super famous guy. And she's like, you gotta try. And she just is like, no, you don't understand what went on between us and blah, blah, blah. And I wouldn't want to introduce my son. I can't remember his son's name. I wouldn't want to introduce him. What if he gets rejected by him? That trauma will last forever. Bitch, he might die. Are you fucking dumb? Your child is terminally ill and needs a fucking organ transfer. And you're not willing to even try to ask this man? Who gives a shit? Call whoever the fuck you need to. Badger them. Send all the emails. Call the people. She's like, oh, I can just email his admin assistant. Like, I'm sure they get so many messages like, oh, I have his love child. Fucking try? Holy shit. And she was like refusing to. Obviously, per the fucking synopsis, she clearly eventually does and whatever. But I just cannot even try, or I don't care to try to empathize, sympathize, or relate, or just care about the journey of a fucking character who is a mother and refuses to reach out to someone who could potentially be a fucking donor match for their terminally ill child. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Suck up your fucking pride, get over your discomfort or embarrassment or whatever the fuck it is. I don't give a shit. Deal with it and at least attempt. Like, no. So I was just like, I'm out. Nope. Can't do it. Don't care, can't do it. And then I had another e-arc, this time of The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. This book felt like it took half of my life to complete. Fun characters, fun plot points, but oh my good God, why was every plot point dragged out for eternity? This is it's the beginning of a series, a new series by Joe Abercrombie. And yeah, it's like a merry band of misfits. It's kind of, I've seen a lot of people referring to it this way, and I get the comp. I think it makes sense. It's like fantasy Suicide Squad, which I guess Suicide Squad is kind of fantasy, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's that, like, dynamic, that tone, that vibe. Suicide Squad-esque. The like second one that they did is the one I'm talking about. The episodic nature of the quest that our characters go on, this little adventure that they go on, they have to get someone from point A to point B, and they are tasked with doing this. We have like a vampire, a werewolf, a grizzled, cursed with eternal life soldier, a thief, an elf, and in this world, elves are the baddies. We don't like them. They're ostracized. It's humans against the elves all the time. A priest and a magician. He's not a wizard, a magician. He's very adamant about that. And yeah, we have this cast of characters, and they have to get this other character from here to there. That's the general plot. And the episodic nature of it would have been so much better as a TV show, in my opinion, if we were going to drag it out like we did. Because as a book, it would have been better for me if it wasn't 600 plus pages. If this was like 400 pages, if each of these, like, because it would be like, oh, we're here, there's a battle, there's, you know, shenanigans afoot. Every single one of those was like just too long. It wasn't that I hated what happened, I just hated how dragged out each new little mini quest was. Each new little adventure was just too fucking long. Oh my God, like 5 chapters too long for my personal taste. Each one of these new places we're at. And the characters were entertaining. I did really like them, but they also kind of got a little bit tedious in parts, probably because of the pacing issues I had in general. The ending, though, like, I did kind of like where we left off, so I might pick up the sequel, like, get it from the library to check it out to see, but I also might not. I don't know. It'll depend on what the plot of it is. If it is just rinse and repeat, because it's like 2 characters get replaced in the end, and so in the very end, we are meeting, like, the replacements for them, and they're replaced for various reasons. But we're meeting them, and so I'm like, is this just going to be another quest with these new people worked into the team? Because if it is, I think I'm out. And especially if it's 600 plus pages again. I think I will be like, no, thank you. But if the sequel is a little bit of questy, but also is still following the plot we left off in this first book, with a lot more of the political maneuverings, and if it's shorter too, but definitely if it's that, if it's a good blend of like the new crew 2.0 on a different quest, combined with these characters and their political maneuverings that we kind of left off with, I think then I'll check it out. I still am not going to purchase necessarily without trying it from the library first, but I would. But if it is just going to be another rinse and repeat new quest, no, I think I'm out. I did end up still giving it 3.25 stars because, like I said, I did still really enjoy the characters themselves. And it's not that I hated the plot. I just hated the pacing. Oh my God, hated the pacing. So yeah, 3.25 for me on this one. And I think that's going to be it for now. Kind of a want little grouping here. Not a great little chunk here in the beginning of April that I had, but it is what it is. I have some other good ones coming. So let me know if you have read any of these, of course. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.